This chart shows transaction volume in the U.S. housing market steadily plummeting to its lowest point since 1995. At the exact same time, median home prices are skyrocketing, sitting near all-time highs. This market is structurally frozen, ignoring the basic economic physics of supply and demand. Fewer people buying while prices continue to climb indicates a system that has stopped functioning normally. Take someone we'll call Maya. She is 31, carries zero credit card debt, and earns $74,000 a year. By historical standards, she represents the perfect financial profile to buy a modest, single-family suburban home. She skips vacations, takes on a roommate, and saves diligently. Yet every time her lease renews with a higher rent, or inflation chips away at her grocery budget, her timeline to afford a down payment stretches further into the future. This equation shows exactly what she's up against. To comfortably afford the median-priced home today, a buyer needs an income of around $106,000. But the actual median household income in the U.S. is $83,700. That leaves a massive $22,300 shortfall. The system's baseline math now excludes average earners, regardless of their personal financial discipline. For millions of potential buyers, the path to homeownership has been blocked by a structural gap they cannot save their way out of. The shortage choking today's buyers is the direct output of a 15-year building deficit that followed the 2008 financial crash. After the banking system collapsed, developers retreated. Throughout the entire 2010s, construction fell so far below historical baselines that the United States is currently missing roughly 3.5 to 4.5 million homes. When developers did pull permits, they focused on high-end luxury properties. The profit margins are simply better on large, expensive builds, leaving little incentive to construct entry-level housing. This bar chart compares construction volumes over time, showing an 80% drop in starter homes. In the 1970s, builders completed over 400,000 homes under 1,400 square feet annually. By 2020, that number had plummeted to just 65,000. In 2008, massive inventory flooded the market because banks had given subprime loans to unqualified buyers based on invented home values. Today, lending is strict, borrowers are highly qualified, and homeowners are sitting on nearly $36 trillion in real equity, meaning mass foreclosures and a subsequent price crash are highly unlikely. Builders effectively discontinued the traditional entry point for first-time buyers. For working-class Americans, the first rung of the wealth-building ladder has been physically removed from the market. In early 2020, the Federal Reserve slashed interest rates to near zero, dropping the 30-year fixed mortgage to a bottom of 2.65%. That incredibly cheap money sparked a buying frenzy, driving national home prices up 37% in just 2 years. Remote work exploded from 6% to over 18% almost overnight. Buyers packed up and left expensive coastal cities, descending on secondary markets like Austin with huge pandemic savings and a desperate need for home offices. By mid-2022, inflation hit 9.1%, and the central bank slammed on the brakes. They executed 11 rapid rate hikes in 16 months, pushing mortgage rates from historic lows to a 20-year high near 8%. This pie chart illustrates the immediate fallout. 51% of all outstanding U.S. mortgages are currently locked in at a rate below 4%, with roughly 20% sitting below 3%. Upgrading to a new house today means voluntarily surrendering that cheap money. Federal Reserve researchers estimate trading an old 3% mortgage for a 6.5% rate costs the seller over $65,000 in pure financial penalty. A cold financial calculation is physically holding these families in place. This gridlock has paralyzed the national supply of existing homes and brought the entire market to a standstill. Waiting on the sidelines for mortgage rates to plunge is a risky calculation. Because the market has a multi-million unit deficit, a sudden drop to 5% would instantly unleash millions of sidelined buyers, flooding the market with demand and sending prices spiking all over again. With existing homeowners refusing to sell, new home builders have become the primary source of available inventory. To move their inventory, many builders are offering aggressive mortgage rate buydowns, securing rates as low as 4.5% for buyers. But you have to run the math carefully to ensure the developer hasn't quietly inflated the base price of the home to cover the cost of the discount. The other option requires ignoring the cultural pressure that labels renting as throwing your money away. This comparison shows the actual math of renting versus buying. In a high-rate, high-price environment, taking the monthly cash difference between a cheap rent and an expensive mortgage and investing it into a compounding index fund is a sound wealth-building strategy. If you do buy, total monthly housing costs must land below 28 to 30% of your gross income, and you need to plan on staying in the property for at least 7 years. Stretching your budget to 45% of your income based on market optimism is a mathematical trap. The era of buying any house at any price and assuming appreciation will bail you out is over. Navigating a dysfunctional market requires running your own numbers rather than overextending based on a cultural expectation that the data no longer supports.